Hello, good night. My name is Aaron Levi Daniel Smith, and I'll be presenting the Spanish Grammar Summary Part 3 for the CSEC and the CAPE revision. Okay, let us begin. These are the objects that I would be discussing, right, in detail, especially adverbs and the passive form. Okay. The uses of ser. Ser is used for the following. So, por ejemplo, soy trinitario, or Maria es baja. I'm Trinidadian, or Maria is short. Right? Ser is used for occupation. Juan is abogado. John is a lawyer. And Michael era médico. Michael was a doctor. Please note that we don't use the definite article uno after ser, especially with occupations. Right? Ser is used for ownership, so the table is made of wood. La mesa es de madera. You can also use this to convert it into an adjective. Right? So it's a wooden table. Right? Expressions of time. Right? Es la una. It's 1 o'clock. Right? Ser is used before infinitives, nouns, and pronouns. Right? So lo importante es tener una dieta sana. The important thing is to have a healthy diet. Whenever you're adding lo to basically an adjective or an adverb, it becomes the whatever thing, right? It's used as the auxiliary verb for the passive, right? So fue escrito, was written, right? Let's move on to estar. This is basically for location, whether it be permanent or temporary. So I've used an example here. Estoy en mi casa y mi casa está en San Fernando. My house would basically probably always be in San Fernando. Right? But at the moment, I am in my house. Okay? So hope you all understand the difference there. Right? So it doesn't matter once it's for location, permanent or temporary. Unless it's talking about an event, as we previously saw, point 7. Right? When you're talking about when an event will occur, you use ser. Right? For temporary state, an easy way to remember this is if you want to say está borracho, he is drunk. That is, he's drunk at the moment. That's a state. But if he's drunk today, tomorrow, and like probably every day for the week, you can clearly say that él es borracho. He's a drunk person, right? It's used to express a change noted in someone's appearance. So, qué hermosa estás, Isabella, right? How beautiful you look now, right? So you've noticed that her appearance has changed, right? The continuous tenses are formed, right, as stated in the previous video. A resultant state it is used for. So, por ejemplo, las luces estaban encendidos. The lights were turned on as a result of someone turning them on. Right? Please note you can also use this. La puerta fue abierta por Michael. The door was opened by Michael. La puerta está abierta. Right? So the door is open. It's describing the state. Right? As a result of Michael probably opening the door. Right? Okay. When you use ser and estar, the meaning of a sentence can completely change, right? So I've listed some over here, right? One important thing I want to draw your attention to is la carne es rica, so saying that generally meat is delicious, and la carne está rica, the meat tastes delicious, right? Just including right now the verb saber means to taste, right? Right, you can learn off this. It's very easy to remember. This is a clear change, are alive, and sharp and clever. Okay. Some common expressions with ser, I've noted them here, and some common expressions with the star. You can pause the video and you can write them down and learn them, right? Conjunctions. These are used to connect words, phrases, and clauses, and exist in two types, coordinating and subordinating. So I've split them up. So I've put all the coordinating conjunctions first. Those are I, O, ni, pero, and sino. Please note sino does not have an accent. It's the font, sorry. So por ejemplo, no te conozco ni tus amigos. I don't know you, nor do I know your friends. Right? This is very important because a lot of people tend to leave it out. Right? So, for example, me encantaría visitar a España e Inglaterra. Right? So the the E, it should be Y, E pronounced in Spanish, right? Now forms by putting an E, right? Ayer Juan pasó la aspiradora e hizo la cama. Right? Yesterday John vacuumed the house and he made up the bed also, right? So just note before I or HI, and O changes to U when the word that follows begins with O or HO. This should be a comma, sorry, right? So, por ejemplo, ¿cuántos años tienes? 7 u 8, right? You don't say siete o ocho because it puts a strain on the voice of Hispanohablantes, Spanish-speaking people, right? I've used this example here. Hay que ser responsable o honesta. You have to be at least responsible or decent. I'm sorry, you can remove this at. At least, you have to be at least responsible and honest, right? Let's jump to pero and sino, right? Pero we all know means but, right? But when it contradicts a previous statement in the negative, we use sino, right? So if the clause introduced by sino has a verb in it, que must follow sino. That's in the second example, right? So let's start. Mi hermana no es demasiada floja, sino demasiada trabajadora. So my sister isn't too lazy, but too hardworking. So it contradicts, right? Because obviously the opposite of lazy would be hardworking, right? I've introduced a verb here, limpiar, which means to clean. So mi hermano no limpia la casa, sino que la sucia, right? My sister doesn't clean the house, but rather she dirties it, right? The subordinating conjunctions are aunque, cuando, mientras, porque, ya que, right? And these are obviously dependent on the main clause, right? Now the passive, it's widely used in Spanish, right? It's used in all tenses, right? So I've listed the tenses here. So los perros son amados por todo el mundo. Dogs are loved by everyone. El nuevo perrito será amado por su dueño. The new puppy will be loved by its owner, right? And take a quick note of this. I put nuevo because I'm indicating that it's a new one, right? A new dog. Probably you can add it to this litter from dogs here, right? My dog Rico has been spoiled all his life, right? So to say this, we can go to mi perro Rico ha sido mimado por su vida entera. This means entire or total amount of, right? And you should not will agree with la vida, right? Okay, so this is the present perfect, right? Okay, the passive can be avoided by using the relative tense and by reconstructing it. So, por ejemplo, todo el mundo ama a los perros, right? Everyone loves dogs, right? Le mimamos a Rico por su vida entera. We spoiled Rico all his life. Please note, if this were le mimaron a Rico por su vida entera, it would be Rico was spoiled all his life, right? Or has been spoiled all his life. It's just a way in the third person plural. It's not widely used, but you can use it. It's not incorrect, right? Now, this one is very much popular. The use of the reflexive pronoun se can express the passive without an agent, right? So, por ejemplo, se vende comida aquí. Food is sold here. When I went to Venezuela, and even when I went to Colombia also, I've seen a lot of signs saying se vende, se alquila, etc., right? Just mean that it is sold here. So it's a form of using the passive, right? The infinitive, it can be used in its entirety without being conjugated, but there are rules governing it. So for example, it can stand on its own, but you need to add el, right? It's not that necessary, but it just sounds better, right? So el almorzar sin carne es un problema para mí. Having lunch without meat is a problem for me, right? The infinitive generally comes after tener que. Sorry, this is Portuguese. Que means whom, who in Portuguese. Sorry, hay que means you have to. Deber, poder. Right. So, por ejemplo, tengo que estudiar. I have to study. Right. This just indicates obligation. Right. I've just thrown this in because I remembered at the time. When you're saying can you cook, you don't say puedes cocinar. So you translate can as saber, which means to know, right? So tú puedes saber, tú sabes cocinar, do you know how to cook, or can you cook, right? The infinitive is used generally after conjugated verb, right? So, por ejemplo, puedes ir al cine. Can you go to the cinema? Right? I've just thrown this in, right? Ella salió corriendo. She ran out. It's an example where you did not put the infinitive after or conjugated, right? I remember when I used to go for lessons, I had to use this phrase quite often. Lo siento llegar tarde. I'm sorry for reaching late. So, lo siento always follows the infinitive, right? Lo siento comer la comida. Lo siento anything, right? So, I'm sorry for. The for is understood, and obviously we use the infinitive, right? Okay, great. This is used after acabar de o volver a. So, por ejemplo, la volvería a besar. I would kiss her again, right? We learned the conditional tense before, right? When a preposition is followed by a verb in Spanish, the verb must be in the infinitive. So, por ejemplo, you can use this in the paper too, right? Sin cesar means non-stop or without stopping, right? Very important here. The infinitive is sometimes used for the imperative. That is mostly in notices, right? So if you say a sign no fumar, it doesn't mean no to smoke. It means no smoking. No pisar el césped. Don't walk or step on the lawn or grass. Right? I've seen this many times. I still broke the rules. Guess I won't get locked up. Right? Al followed by the infinitive means when. So por ejemplo, al entrar el bar, Juan ordenó una botella de tequila oro. Right? When he entered the bar, John ordered a bottle of gold tequila. Right? But al plus any other verb, right? In its when it's separated means on entering, on eating, al comer, anything, right? Okay. Prepositions are words that link a noun, right? A noun phrase or a pronoun to the rest of a sentence, right? They can consist of a single word like de, con, según, durante, or they can have two or more words like al lado de, con relación a, right? As stated before, the infinitive is used after prepositions. Por ejemplo, antes de dormir hay que rezar. You must pray before sleeping, right? When combined with particular preposition, verbs have a specific meaning. Right? So if you want to tell a girl, I'm thinking about you, you don't say, yo estoy pensando in de ti, right? Or sobre ti. Right? You say, yo pienso en ti. So this is a very special use here, right? And pensar de is to have an opinion about something. Right? The prepositions are, I've listed all these important stuff to know, so you can pause the video and you can write them down. But I just want to draw reference to this. Se busca dependiente, looking for a store clerk, right? Or a store clerk wanted, right? That is just so that the personal I is unlikely to be used if a human object is not personalized, right? The preposition con, right? When we say cents in Trinidad or change or whatever, right? It costs $3.50. Cuesta $3.50, right? Centimos. So this is implied at the 50 centimos, right? I want to draw your attention to desde, which both means since and from, right? So it's a strong sense of origin, and since refers back to time during which something occurred, right? So if you want to say we've been watching TV since 5 p.m., hemos estado viendo la televisión desde, right? So that's since, right? Las 5 de la tarde. Okay? En has a specific use for location, right? It means at when speaking of location, right? So I've drawn a great example here. Juan estaba en KFC cuando él dio cuenta de que su novia estaba sentada con Juan a una mesa, right? So these both words mean at, right? So John was in KFC when, sorry, I forgot the when here, when he realized, darse cuenta de que is realize that. So the word is darse cuenta de means to realize, and you conjugate it accordingly, right? Su novia estaba sentada, was sitting or was sitting with John, sorry, at a table, right? So just note those differences there. So in is used for location because he was in KFC, and a is generally a translation of at, right? These are important. Dentro de, sobre. The differences the uses of por and para. Alright, you should pause the video here because a lot of people get a lot of problems with por and para. Right, so but I tend to use them as follows, right? Sobresalgo por estudiar mucho, right? I succeed or I do very well by studying. Easy way to remember which by is by means of, right? By means of studying, I succeed. By means of studying a lot, I succeeded, right? He received a certificate for participating in the competition. Now with para, I remember para because in order to, right? And is used for destination and purpose. So compré helado para mi novia. I bought ice cream for my girlfriend, right? So it's para ella. I use them before the infinitives, right? Yo voy al centro comercial para comprar in order to buy, right? This is an example where it's used for time. Termina la tarea para el lunes, for Monday, right? Or before Monday, anything. The most common negative words in Spanish are no, nunca, jamás, nada, nadie, ninguno, ni, and well, tampoco and ni can be both used interchangeably, right? And apenas means scarcely or hardly, right? Take a note of the double negatives, right? So, por ejemplo, no sabía nada. He didn't know anything. So this last negative would now become positive in English, right? Translated as positive in English, right? You can have more than two negatives in one sentence. So, no entiende nunca nada. He doesn't ever understand anything, which can just be translated as he never understands anything, right? We're on to the big topic, an adverb, right? Now, there are adverbs of manner, right? And they are formed from the feminine form of the adjective. This should be an E, plus adding mente, right? So, desafortunado, right, means unfortunate. So it's an adjective and it's masculine singular. You put it in the feminine and then you add mente, right? And as seen here also. Now, however, if it does not have a feminine, like easy, right, you just add mente. Okay. These common adverbs are adverbs of manner. Así, bien, de repente, despacio, mal. Despacio means slow. You would need that, especially when you're speaking to Spanish people. Right? So I've drawn an example here. Normalmente ella come despacio. Normally she eats slowly. So how does she eat? Slowly. How does she eat here? Despacio. Right? So that's how it's an adverb. Right? Adverbs of time, just learn these off. Right? So por ejemplo, normalmente Miguel llega tarde a la escuela. Right? Normally Miguel reaches the school late. Adverbs of place. Right? You can just learn these off. Alright, an example here is a Miguel le gusta comer aquí. Miguel likes to eat here. Please note when using gustar, it's a bit confusing to some people. Right? Gustar just means that whatever comes before it pleases the person. Right? So this just means to please, and it's to Miguel, so we'd use le, and this is pleasing him. Right? Adverbs of degree, which describe how much, can be used as casi, demasiado, más, menos, muy, tonto, un poco, and bastante. Right? So an example here is Juan come un poco, pero Miguel prefiere comer bastante comida. So Juan eats a little, John, eats a little, but Miguel prefers to eat enough food. Right? Some adjectives also function as adverbs, right? So lento here, right, now becomes habla más lento, please talk more slowly. Right? It's something we used to have to repeat when we went to Venezuela, because it speaks so fast, right? Adverbs can be used to compare by placing más o menos before the adverb. So más despacio, right? So despacio here is an adverb, right? Which also means slowly. So más despacio, right? These have special comparative forms, so you can just learn them off. Right? So I've drawn an example here. No sé quién parece mejor, las colombianas o las venezolanas. Right? I really don't know. I believe Venezuelan girls are nicer. Just saying. I don't know who looks better, Colombian girls or Venezuelan girls. Right? Adverbs are generally placed after the verb that they modify. Right? So in all the examples, you'll see that the adverbs are placed after. And well, that's the end of this third video, and thanks for your time. I really do wish you all the best of luck in exams, and I hope that Spanish can become a little easier to you. You can check out my other videos on the same YouTube page, and if you have any questions or need any help in Spanish, please feel free to contact me. Do have a great time, and buenísima suerte en sus exámenes. Thanks. Bye. Ciao.